Okay, this is a video response to Brock's brother's brother, or the Atheist Antidote, or Brock Lawley as he's sometimes known. Now, I've got some questions to ask you, Brock, for you to ignore. But before I get on to that, I just want to make a statement, and it's the same statement I made to your brother, which is, it's just wrong to ignore arguments for the opposition when those arguments exist, and this is exactly what you have done in this video. This subject of irreducible complexity, these ideas of Michael Behe, let me sound flabbergasted that you accept the viewpoint of Michael Behe, but we'll go into more of that later. These arguments are very controversial. They are not established theory. In fact, Michael Behe himself stated at the Kitzmiller trial that if you're prepared to accept intelligent design as a theory, then you need to accept astrology as a theory as well. So this is not accepted stuff. But you don't even provide the counter evidence, do you? You don't even provide the counter evidence. Just let me play a comment that you've made here, Brock.
He argues that the existence of irreducible complexity is accepted by the entire community of molecular biologists.
Well, I didn't know that Michael Behe had made this claim, but if he has, it's a pretty extraordinary claim. It's not a claim that I believe. I don't think it's a claim that you believe, and this is my point. You don't believe that the entire molecular biological community agrees with Michael Behe? How absurd. And yet you'll just quite happily say it in your video because it makes your point for you. In fact, at the Dover trial I was talking about a minute ago, Michael Behe was on the stand for the defence, and he was talking about the blood clotting cascade, and he said that no information, that no scientific literature has been published that could give some examples of where this blood clotting cascade could have come from, how it could have evolved. And the plaintiffs came forward with a series of articles, with a series of books, with a series of peer-reviewed journals, and just slapped them down on his desk. It almost obscured Michael Behe and said, well, what about these? And Michael Behe had no answer for them other than, well, can you give me some time to read these, please? It just fails. Your argument there fails. But let's move on and listen to some more of what you've got to say.
So the question remains, is there really a staircase up mountain probable as Dawkins suggests there is?
Well, yes, there very much is a staircase up mountain probable, and it's this process of exaptation which you blithely dismiss later on in your video. But we know from the fields of genetics, from evolutionary developmental biology, that these things happen, and the reason we happen is because humans and all life forms don't have a gene for this, a gene for that. When you have some new function, you don't have a gene for it usually. You're using the same genes you've used before. Genes create proteins, and they can be reused, and they are used in a multitude of tasks. It's like if I built an extension to my house. I wouldn't go around the brick company, ask them to kill me a new type of brick. I'd use the same kind of bricks, but I'd just use it in a different arrangement. I'd use the same kind of bricks again, but in a different arrangement. And this is what happens within the body. But this provides a link between species. We can see that. We can see structures that are homologous. That legs in some crustaceans are homologous with the feeding mouth parts in other crustaceans. And that's how we can see that these ideas of exaptation that we had previously are actually true, because the same genes are expressed in the creation, in the embryo of these different structures. So yes, we can climb this mountain probable. Let me carry on with something else you have to say now.
Now, according to Dawkins, mutations large enough to have visual effects are nearly always harmful. That's from the tongue of your boy Dawkins, baby.
What a ridiculous argument, Rob. Even for you, that's a ridiculous argument. Look, I want you to humour me. Humour me if you could, right? I want you to go to your kitchen. I want you to get a pan of tap water. I want you to put it on. Okay? Put it on the hob, on the gas, the electricity, whatever you have. And then, as it's going along there, I want you to keep sticking your finger in, and I want you to note if on consecutive dips, you can discern a temperature rise. Okay? And when you've done that, once the water starts boiling and your finger's burning, I want you to come back to me. You're back. Right, great. So you didn't discern a temperature difference between consecutive dips. Wow, it's a miracle. God must have intervened in this water boiling process, Brock, mustn't he? By your own stupid logic. Let's listen to a bit more you've got to say. We're coming to the crunch now, Brock.
Now, many biologists call such explanations just so stories, and they don't really belong in the realm of science, but rather children's literature. Moving from Dawkins to Behe's book is like moving from the children's library to the laboratory. One's a virtual storyteller up to his gills in fact-free science. The other is a brilliant scientist and a very brave man, I might add.
Well, you really do seem quite enamoured by Michael Behe, don't you? You think he's a brilliant scientist. How can we go against him, Brock? How can you go against him? Of course you're not. You're accepting what he says. Or are you, Brock? I want you to answer this. I want you to answer this and tell us what you believe. Do you believe that the universe is billions of years old, as Michael Behe believes? Do you believe the earth is billions of years old, as Michael Behe believes? Do you believe that life has evolved on earth for billions of years, as Michael Behe believes? Do you believe in the principle of common descent that Michael Behe believes in? Do you believe that human beings have descended from other primates along with bonobos, chimpanzees, orangutans and gorillas, as Michael Behe himself believes? Let's just find out how much of what Michael Behe believes Brock Lawley believes, shall we? Because he's a brilliant scientist, Brock, and you're telling us we should take on board what he believes. Let's see how much of it you have taken on board. Let me just leave with a quote from Michael Behe, okay? Suppose that nearly 4 billion years ago the designer made the first cell, already containing all the irreducibly complex biochemical systems discussed here and many others. One can postulate that the design for systems that were to be used later, such as blood clotting, were present but not turned on. In present day organisms, plenty of genes are turned off for a while, sometimes for generations, to be turned on at a later time. Well, despite the fact that Michael Behe is talking utter fucking bullshit, because we know that if a gene is turned off for any length of time, that it starts to mutate, and natural selection cannot remove those mutations. That's why cavefish have all these distorted eyes that they have. That's why you and me have genes with pseudo genes, fossilized genes, olfactory genes for smells that we can no longer smell anymore. Despite the fact that Michael Behe's argument is a crock of shit, I'm just asking, are you accepting that argument, that we all life descended from one organism that had all these genes to begin with, and that was God's last involvement? I'm asking you what you believe now. How much of Michael Behe do you actually believe? Thank you for watching this video.